Hey, good night, my people. How are you? I hope and trust that all is going good. Today is Sunday the 15th of February 2026, and the time right now is 3 minutes before the 7 p.m. hour. And tonight I want to kind of go a little slowly because I want to make sure that persons kind of follow me, track where I'm going. And of course, if there's any lawyers in the house, wherever I go wrong, they can indicate in the comments because I'm always willing to learn. As you will see from my backdrop, it says judgments and enforcement of judgment. Enforcement of judgment. That's very important. Enforcement of the judgment is actually making sure that what a court would have ruled, the person in whom the judgment is in favor, they're able to enforce that judgment, collect whatever it says, or carry out whatever, situate that whatever it says is carried out. Well, I would have been listening to the Prime Minister, well, the recording from his Saturday show, and it was announced on that program that the Prime Minister have sued, what am I name? DeLuca, I don't remember the first name, and his legal firm for defamation, I believe it is. And it was announced that that filing was done here in the High Court in Antigua and Barbuda on Friday the 13th of February 2026. And just now as I said it, I have to smile to myself because it was done on Friday the 13th. Anyway, I got distracted there a bit by the date. Friday the 13th. Um, the first thing that jumped at me was that I remembered that the legal team or member of the legal team for the Prime Minister a few weeks ago had indicated that they were meeting. I guess it's about four persons or something like that, four lawyers, and they had not at that point in time decided what jurisdiction they were going to file the matter in. So when I heard it was filed in Antigua, in the High Court in Antigua, my mind ran back to that and I wondered to myself, I wonder why they chose to file it here in Antigua. But anyway, that is another story. I asked myself the question, can a defamatory case be brought before or be brought against an American in another jurisdiction? That's the question I asked myself. So I went on Mrs. Google to investigate. And Mrs. Google have informed me that yes, a defamation case can be brought against an American in a foreign jurisdiction if the statement caused harm there. But enforcement, but enforcing that judgment in the US is difficult due to the Speech Act. See why I'm looking at enforcement? Again, the answer was yes, a defamation case can be brought against an American in a foreign jurisdiction if the statement caused harm there. But enforcing that judgment in the US is difficult due to the Speech Act. Let me just continue. Foreign courts often have jurisdiction if the content was accessed or caused damage locally, but US law protects against such libel tourism by prohibiting recognition of foreign judgments that provides less speech protection than the First Amendment. Right? Let me just go back a bit. But US law. Now let me go from the beginning of that. Foreign courts often have jurisdiction if the content was accessed or caused damage locally. But the US law protects against such libel tourism by prohibiting recognition of foreign judgments that provide less speech protection than the First Amendment. So, in layman language, and my understanding is, if a foreign country gives a judgment against an American citizen, and that foreign country um free speech protection does not equate to the First Amendment in the American Constitution, it will be difficult if not almost impossible, to enforce a judgment against an American in the US. That is my understanding of that. And I want to note that I'm going to come back to it later, but let us know that. Jurisdiction and libel tourism. Foreign courts, example UK, Canada, may claim jurisdiction if the defamatory content was accessed or caused damage in their territory. This is often called libel tourism, when plaintiffs target US speakers in jurisdiction with plaintiff-friendly libel laws. Right? So again, what they're saying is, in some jurisdiction, the libel laws might not equate to the First Amendment in the American Constitution. And under that situation, right, there's going to be a little problem in enforcing that judgment in that foreign court in the US. Let's move on to the Speech Act 2010. Speech Act. What is the Speech Act 2010? Remember, above it says, but enforcing that judgment in the US is difficult due to the Speech Act. So let's go to the Speech Act of 2010. Let's see what it says. It says, a US federal law, or the Speech Act is a US federal law, the securing the protection of our enduring and established constitutional heritage, in parentheses, speech, prevents US courts from enforcing foreign defamation judgments unless the foreign court provided speech protections at least as strong as the First Amendment. So again, you see the correspondence between the first, or the comparison, I should say, between the foreign state freedom of speech laws versus the American First Amendment, the First Amendment in the American Constitution. And if that foreign country law is found wanting when the comparison is made, whoever have a judgment is going to have a problem enforcing that judgment in the United States. Cross-border defamation. With internet publication, defamation suits can arise whenever the material is accessed. But enforcing these judgments against American citizens typically requires showing the foreign jurisdiction laws were compatible with the US freedom of speech standards. So again, you see that comparison, comparing the foreign law to the American Constitution, and where it doesn't match up, in their opinion, you're not getting an enforcement in the American court. That internet publication, I think I did a video with it recently. In England, I think it's in England, yes, they were passing some laws or amending some laws in relation to like X, them technological companies, these American companies that go over there like X for the man, what am I name? Musk and them kind of websites. The British were saying that under certain circumstances, if certain of the content is not regulated, these companies could be charged X amount of money. As a matter of fact, I think there was actually a charge against X in relation. And what happened? America was going into an agreement with Britain. I forgot the name of it right now. They put that on hold. They said, we're not going with that until this is sorted out. And the persons that America deemed to be the creator or the author of the law that got it through to the parliament, blah, 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 sanctions were put against those persons. I think there were 3 or 4 of them, quote unquote, respectable persons in the British environment. Sanctions were placed on them in terms of not being able to travel to America, etc., etc. I haven't heard how that has finished up as yet, but again, I just note that to bring to your attention the weight that America puts on freedom of speech, and the American is not too kind in watering down that. If a case filed abroad, American defendants, if a case is filed abroad, American defendants often rely on the Speech Act to defend against enforcement of any resulting unfavorable judgment in the United States. So you get an idea. When I heard that the decision was made to file in this jurisdiction, I smiled to myself. I smiled to myself. I'm not going to speculate on why that decision was made. They will tell us. They will tell us why that decision was made. But I know for sure that there had to have been a reason. There had to have been a reason as to why that decision was made. Again, as I said, it was weeks before this weekend, where it was said that the decision was not made as yet, and then the decision was made. So I know there had to have been a reason for that. But the point I'm saying, if I'm correct, and I could be corrected by one of the many attorneys, many lawyers in Antigua, if Antigua and Barbuda freedom of speech laws does not match up with the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, and a judgment is given, we will wait and watch and see if we have another situation like the WTO situation, where after 20-something years, Antigua have a judgment that it can't collect upon. So we will see whether or not, if there is a favorable judgment, when the comparison is done between our laws and the first constitution of the of the USA, we will see whether or not that judgment can be enforced in the United States. The last thing I'll say on that, before I come to the end, on the declaratory judgment. If you are sued abroad, you can bring an action in the U.S. federal court to have the foreign judgment declared repugnant to the U.S. Constitution, making it officially unenforceable stateside. Once again, if you are sued, that is an American citizen, is sued abroad, you can bring an action in the U.S. federal court to have the foreign judgment declared repugnant to the U.S. Constitution, making it officially unenforceable stateside. Now, I'm just doing my little reading, me to be an attorney, and if I'm discovering this, I hear them saying that the man, what's his name, DeLuca, is some big lawyer and they have a big firm. Let us see how it goes, right? I have listened to the conversation as to what certain things are being said, and I don't want to speak too much of this yet. From if my understanding is correct, the matter has been filed. They would then have to serve on the people in them, and they would have to file, or they will file the defense. So let us see as we go through the step by step what happens. Let us see if even when the persons are served, what their position will be. I don't know. I appreciate the fact that the Prime Minister and his legal team have, quote unquote, given an update to the public. And I am hoping that they will be consistent with that update as we go along the process. I think I heard Astefan say that all being well, if it goes to court, you're looking at going to court about a year from now. So we're looking at a minimum maybe next year, February. Again, we'll have to follow the different applications that are made so we know where we're going with that. We know that why I say I hope that we updated, it was only, I don't know how it came out, but I remembered when the situation was when the lady, the Russian lady side was granted access to look at certain financial records of the Prime Minister, and that was challenged. And the order was quashed. We heard about that. I don't know who publicized it, but it took a while afterwards that we then learned that another action was moved in Florida. The initial action was in New York. The other action was in Florida, and certain things was happening along that line that nobody said nothing to us. We didn't know that that was going on until somebody posted it and then people started to follow it up. So I'm hoping, having begun the process of advising the public how this matter is going, I'm hoping that we the public that is, will be updated um, as this move along. Because you see, anybody can go to court. It's what happens after you go through the court. As you go through the process, sometimes there's a tendency for us not to hear the information. Like, for instance, let's even look at the global bank situation. As I said in a video before, it's only because I made a note in my diary and I kept following that you keep following. Hear nothing. You just hear, hey, the matter is before the court, and then you don't hear nothing again. Sometimes the journalists don't do their work in this country, if you ask me. As a matter of fact, I had asked after the Prime Minister had indicated that Global Bank was in administration. I had asked somebody about it, and I was then told that there was supposed to have been a hearing in February, and that hearing, well, no, firstly, the person told me that there was some issue with the man's Sterling account, and there was supposed to have been a hearing in February, and it was pushed back to March. The point I'm making is, if we're waiting on these journalists around here to keep us updated, we're going to be in a little issue. And maybe that's why certain things in the country is the way it is, because they're not really carrying their weight, in my opinion. But that's a discussion for another time. So let us see what happens. But what I definitely got from the little reading that I did is that when it's all said and done, whether you get a judgment or if you get a judgment, in order to enforce that judgment in the Americas or in America, your law, your free speech law, better equate to the First Amendment. And if it doesn't, you're going to be left with a piece of paper saying Dave owe you $55 million, and that's all it's going to be. Just like how the WTO says that Antigua is owed whatever it is for over 20 something years now, I think. And up to now, not a kranana, as the people here would say. So let us watch and see what happens. Again, as I said, if I'm misguided in what I'm saying, in the comments, a lawyer can make a note and correct me. I'm always willing to learn. But from my little reading, that is my understanding. Until we come together again, my people, enjoy the rest of your night. Have a very good week, work week that starts tomorrow, and take care. Bless up.